Hey everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Players Club. I'm your host, Levi, the Heartbreak Kid Valentine at Levi_Valentine on Twitter. Joining me are my co-hosts, Brent Hud Hikes. Follow him at Brent Hikes on Twitter, Heikes, and Trevin the Baby Maker Cremosta, whose tweets are still too hot for your eyes. Welcome back to another week, fellas. We have big news this week in the world of football as Bishop Sycamore got a little national attention here, Trevin. You've been following this story closer than anybody I know. So why don't you explain to the good folks who may not have heard yet what's been going on with old Bishop Sycamore?
So they are a small charter school, high school in Ohio, and it played a national televised game on Sunday on ESPN against the national powerhouse IMG Academy from Florida, and just got smoked. They even during the broadcast, the ESPN announcers were saying this just doesn't look right. Bishop Sycamore had said 5 or 6 players that had D1 offers, and they were obviously way overmatched to IMG, who is a national powerhouse and has lots of offers. And so during the game, the announcers were questioning why this game was happening. And it turns out they're basically a fake school. There is no schooling going on. It looks like they just put this together to try to recruit kids to play football. I'm not really sure what the end game is yet as far as who's trying to make money off this deal. But it looks like didn't have enough jerseys to even have away and home jerseys Friday night, and both teams wore black because they only had black jerseys. There might be some jersey sharing going on, some helmet sharing going on for the 30 to 35 players that are there. And there's been some interviews with past players that's only been a school for 3 years. They've changed their name a couple times. And past players have said they were getting recruited just from, they'd go to a football camp and they'd have a couple guys recruiting them saying, come to Bishop Sycamore, we're going to be a Netflix show. We're a national powerhouse playing national games. And the kid got there and they were at a hotel for the first couple months and got kicked out of there because they weren't paying their bills for these hotel stays. And the coaches were telling them if they talk to their parents, tell them you're going to school, and they just weren't going to school. So anybody that was there has lost years of schooling. And there's also seems to be some kids that dropped out of JUCO that are playing for this high school team. So it's an all-around mess, but it's pretty fun to follow as long as you don't think too hard about the kids getting screwed over in this deal. But it's pretty wild that it got made. They made it all the way to ESPN.
The only other two details I saw that I would add to what you laid out pretty well, Trevin, is 58-0, I think was the final score. You mentioned how bad they got beat by IMG. Yeah. And then allegedly, I think I saw the head coach had an arrest warrant out. Is that right?
Yeah, but it was for some of the fraud that's been going on of not paying the bills and writing checks that are bouncing to these hotels they've been trying to stay at and things like that.
That is crazy.
But it really seems like they could have just kept getting away with whatever they're trying to do if they didn't go on ESPN and get national attention on this thing.
Yeah, Brent, what were your thoughts when you saw the story come across?
Well, I got it. You sent it to me in a text, and that was the first I've heard of it. Or I think it was Colin who sent it to me in a text, and I was shocked. I was like, really? ESPN even televised the game? And then I looked a little bit more into it, and it's true. And there's got to be a movie on this. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. IMG, how do they? I mean, you think they could have done a little research on this team when they scheduled them, especially a nationally televised game. It's I don't know. It's ridiculous how they got this far.
Trying not to trying to get their hands dirty with this thing, kind of blaming it on whoever puts these games together for them. But I mean, they got to take some responsibility. They're just going to say they put on whatever they want to. They don't look at what they're going to put on, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What's another thing you mentioned that I don't want to just drive by, and isn't really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things of everything that's going on here, but how do you play a football game with both teams wearing black jerseys?
Have you seen pictures of that?
It's insane. I don't know how you'd know who's on what team out there.
No wonder the announcers were questioning it during the telecast.
They did have separate colored jerseys on Sunday on the national one. That was the Friday game. They played 2 games on Friday. They played a game on Friday, then played a game on Sunday. And they wore the black jerseys both games.
And as always, it's the kids getting screwed over here. Playing 2 games in 3 days is terribly risky for your health as a high school or I guess potentially college student in some cases. And then also just, the bad situation that it sounds like they were in, where they weren't getting an education or really getting the football experience that they were promised. And it just
It
seems terrible
seems
all around.
like these prep and charter schools probably need more of a thorough investigation overall, because if these guys were competitive and played good, nobody would even be looking into this thing. So you wonder how many of these schools that are competitive and have some better players are actually doing the schooling part and doing the side stuff that they should be doing for these young kids.
I will say Twitter had fun with this though. I saw a picture with that girl on Full House, Becky. She was like the admissions director at that school. And then I saw the starting defensive end. Remember a couple years ago, there is a father of a recruit that went to Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
Dressed up in the Clemson gear and the shoulder pads and all that. They said that he was a starting defensive end on that team. Twitter had some fun with it, so they had some good stuff on Twitter.
They need to bring back parents in the recruiting visits dressing up as the football players. I really enjoyed that. I want that to come back.
Well, I've only seen one picture. Was there more of that?
Oh yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, it was a big recruiting thing to have the dads and sometimes even the moms dress up in the football gear like the recruited son was doing. They were taking pictures together. I like that a lot.
Well, if there is one good thing that comes from this, I hope it's that the money from whatever documentary they make about this gets given to the people who got the short end of the stick here, because that's definitely going to happen, and they certainly deserve cut of the action along with all the other vendors and everybody else who got screwed over. But fascinating story. If you haven't read about it, go check it out. It's well worth your time. Trevin did a good job outlining it. There's probably a few more details out there that all these writers are trying to hunt down. So I'm sure we'll hear more on this over the coming weeks. But fellas, we got a fun episode tonight. So let's hop into the main event. And for tonight's main event, we have bold predictions. We each came up with 3 here. And these are for the 2021 fantasy and just real NFL and college football season. So let's kind of go around the horn here, Brent, and we'll start with you for your first bold prediction.
All right. My first bold prediction is one that you guys are familiar with. We've been talking about it for a couple months now, and I mean, it's gone this far, and I just got to run with it. It all started when we were talking about Leonard Fournette's role in the Tampa Bay backfield, and I mentioned that Gio, he's going to be the third down guy all the time, and Leonard Fournette might not have a role on this team, and in my opinion, it's really starting to look that way. And I'm going to go with my bold prediction with Gio getting 68 catches or more on the season, which gives him 4 a game. I'm not saying he's going to be a steal on your fantasy team. I don't think he's going to have that great of a fantasy season. But I do
68 catches. He'll be running back to flex viable.
I got it all figured out. It's
got it all figured out.
Just say it's PPR, 4 catches a game. That's 4 points.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll get a lot of yards from, maybe 30 yards. So that's 7 points. And then maybe rushing 20 to 30 yards. So that's another 9 to 10 points and maybe a quarter of a touchdown a game. So maybe 10, 11 points a game, which you probably don't want to start that on your flex. You might have a better option, but he's definitely a bye week fill-in, or if you have an injury in your squad, you might have to start him at your flex. But I do think he's definitely rosterable, and he'd be a very good 5th or 6th running back on your team. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, is Leonard Fournette. He won't be much of a fantasy option this year.
I love that you're sticking with the stake.
It doesn't matter how many people try to talk him out of it.
And Gio did make the team, so I had predicted that he might be one on the outside looking in when it came time to make the final roster cuts, and he made it. So you're looking pretty good so far, at least as far as him having some opportunity to deliver this for you, Brent. Trevin, you on board yet?
I can't get on board with you yet, Brent. I
understand.
I don't think he's going to be a good 3rd down back for him. You did call that right, but I just don't think he's going to get the volume. I mean, 68 catches. As a whole team last year, the running backs had 84 catches total, which 16 games it comes to 5.25 receptions a game to running backs. So just saying that'd be quite a change in game plan overall, and that'd be Gio taking most of that workload from all the running backs. I just don't see a way for him to get to that number with all the weapons they have around him too. So I just don't see it being a priority.
These are bold predictions, so I think we need to remember that throughout the night as we go through here. And tonight we also have a very special guest. We have Mr. Predicto, who is here to tell us whether or not these bold predictions are going to come true. So, Mr. Predicto, will Giovanni Bernard have 68 or more catches in the 2021 season?
It has been determined so.
Oh,
there we go.
You got Mr. Predicto on your side.
On board. Nicely done, Brent. Trevin, what's your first bold prediction of the evening?
My first bold prediction of the evening is Jameis Winston finishes as a top 10 quarterback this year. He's been named the starter for the Saints. He seems to have a connection with Callaway. I think he's going to keep throwing it downfield, and they've shown they have good offenses at the Saints for a long time. He's going to have some weapons. This kind of hinges on Michael Thomas coming back. But in 2019, Jameis, of course, finished as a number 4 overall quarterback. That same year, the games Teddy started for the Saints was 5 games, and he was on average quarterback 13. So I think it shows that it hasn't just been Drew Brees, and I think Jameis has a lot more fantasy value than Teddy did that year. So I'm taking Jameis Winston as a top 10 quarterback this year.
Certainly bold. I think the thing that makes me, obviously there's a bold takes, like we just said. I'm not going to criticize you too much here, but I just worry about who he has to throw to here, that he's going to get that high of a finish. I mean, he has Alvin Kamara, obviously, is going to be the main target, but beyond that, it's just a lot of unproven options, especially with Michael Thomas out. And I think Thomas got placed on the IR, so he's going to miss, I don't even know how much time, but a significant amount this year. And who knows if he comes back right away when he's eligible. But that's probably my biggest thing with Jameis here, Trevin.
Yeah, mine too. Who's he going to throw it to? Maybe it will be Callaway, and that means Callaway's going to have a really good season. So I respect the pick, but I don't love it.
My biggest fear for it is the turnovers just aren't going to, Peyton's not going to keep him in there if he's turning the ball over like he did when he finished so high so he's got to get that straightened out. He's not going to let him throw 30 interceptions this year and just let him keep firing. So he gets that straightened out. Michael Thomas comes back. I think he can come back. Is he on the PUP list? So week 5 maybe, and plays full time from there. And it's Jameis Winston to the moon.
Should we check in with Mr. Predicto? See what he
Yeah,
thinks?
let's hear what Mr. Predicto says about this.
The answer cannot be found at this moment.
Ooh. Playing hard to get. Let's try it again.
Yes, without question.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Predicto.
He's positive tonight so far on our bold predictions. Here's one he'll probably say no to. I have Patrick Mahomes has the greatest fantasy season by a quarterback of all time, exceeding Peyton Manning's 2013 season, where he had 528.7 fantasy points, averaged just over 33 a game over the 16-game season, 5,477 yards, 55 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown to go along with negative 31 rushing yards. So that is my prediction. Mahomes, of course, came pretty close to this, the closest ever, actually, in 2018 when he had 516.4 fantasy points, or just over about 32 and a quarter per game. So he was just 0.75 behind on a per game basis. I think the Chiefs are extremely motivated this season after what happened in the Super Bowl last year. They've reworked this offensive line, and I think they are on the path to a great season. And I think Mahomes has a huge year. So I'm going to get a little bold here and go best of all time, fellas. What do you think?
He definitely can do it. I can picture it happening. He's got to stay healthy. 17 games too, so very possible it could happen. Good pick.
Are you saying total points for this or average points?
I'll go points per game. So
there we go.
And Peyton Manning just had 33.04 and that's over the 16 game season. So I include the whole thing. So obviously Mahomes will have to do it over 17 instead of 16 if he plays the whole season.
I like it.
Nice.
It's a good bold prediction.
All right. Let's see what Mr. Predicto thinks.
I am confident it is not.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh,
what a tease.
oh man, rope-a-doped you.
I knew he wouldn't like that one. He's being too positive about you guys. All right, Brent. Hit us with your second one, Brent.
Oh, my second one. Oh, this is a fun one.
Always wanted to compliment your own picks, aren't you, Brent?
I know. At least 3 rookie wide receivers will get over 1,000 yards receiving on the year. At least 3. I think Devontae Smith will. I think Elijah Moore will. I am not sure on the third. It could be a lot of different guys. I've said before, this wide receiver rookie class is very good. It could be Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Terrace Marshall, even Rashad Bateman. He'll miss the first 4 games, but there's still a chance he could. Could be Rondell Moore, St. Brown, maybe Tony, maybe Collins. I do think Kyle Pitts has a great chance to get 1,000 yards too. So, but,
does he count for this? You said receivers. So.
No. But I'm just saying that
maybe you go to pass catchers, and then that way you can.
So I can say 4.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair thing. Do you think so, Levi?
Yeah, we'll count Pitts. If you want to say at least 3 rookies have over 1,000 receiving yards.
You can still say 3 and just 3 rookie receivers.
All right. Well, let me tell you how often this happens. It does not.
That's what I was just going to tell you.
It's happened 23 times now. 23 rookies have done it. In 2004 is a pretty odd year. Great receivers, rookie receivers in that class. Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, and Kelvin Benjamin did it in 2014. It's almost unheard of. It's kind of crazy when there's just one receiver that can do it. Justin Jefferson did it last year. AJ Brown did it a couple years ago. So on average, it's probably a little bit less than one rookie wide receiver doing that. But I think there's a really good chance we can get 4 of them pass catchers.
Well, are you going 4 now, or are you gonna stick with 3?
Well,
we'll give you 3.
I think you can keep it at 3, Brent, and include Pitts if you want to.
Oh, and include Pitts?
Yeah, I think you can just say 3 receivers if you want to.
Okay.
Or 3 rookies go over 1,000 yards.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I expect that to happen.
You didn't mention the biggest factor working in your favor here, which is the extra games.
17 games. that definitely helps. But still, having 3 pass catchers do that, it's unheard of. And besides 2014, but it'll be interesting to find out who that third guy could be. I know we're including Pitts, but I really do think Jamar Chase could, or Jalen Waddle could, or even Marshall. Those are probably my top 3 after Moore and Smith. So I don't know. This will be fun. Like I said, this rookie wide receiver class, I think is going to go down in history as one of the best ever.
There you go, Trevin. Anything you want to add?
It's definitely a bold take. Like you said, it happened in 2014. But looking at this list of 1,000-yard rookie receivers, I don't see another year where even 2 people did it. So even though it happened in 2014, there hasn't been another year where even 2 have done it. So it's a bold take. I don't like this rookie receiver class as much now that Bateman's got hurt. I think will hurt your chances here because you look like he might be a lead guy, and there's not too many guys that I think are going to walk into lead roles now with the Waddle, and I don't know if Chase is even going to be the lead receiver there. So that Bateman injury hurt your chances, but I like your bold take here.
The crazy thing about 2014 is Odell Beckham did it in only 12 games at 1,300 yards. So
we just talked about him a couple shows ago, how insane of a rookie year he had.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Can you guess who did it for the Chiefs in 2004? This name kind of surprised me. He had the 6th greatest rookie receiver.
Dwayne Bowe.
No. Oh, this is Tampa Bay. I said the Chiefs. I meant Tampa Bay.
Clayton?
Yep, Michael Clayton.
Another LSU guy.
Yep.
All LSU guys: Beckham, Clayton, Dwayne Bowe.
Yeah,
Dang.
Odell.
Mm-hmm.
There you
What
go.
did you say? Did you
Ernest
say what your
Marshall will be
thoughts on
this
the
year's
take?
version.
So maybe
Oh.
I should include Chase and Marshall
There you
on
go.
this, since Jefferson did it last year too.
What
Quite
did you
the-
say your take on it, Levi?
I like it as a bold call. I obviously none of these are extremely likely, but it's a fun one. I think I agree with Brent. I really do like these rookie wide receivers a lot, and I'm excited to watch them play here in a couple weeks. Should we get Mr. Predicto's take?
Yeah.
Yep.
Come on.
The answer is yes.
Ooh,
Oh,
he likes Brent's takes tonight.
I think
Trevin.
you got something's wrong with your Mr. Predicto, I think.
He hates me and loves you guys. Trevin, what's your second one here?
So my second one is that Kyle Pitts will have the best rookie tight end season ever in the modern age.
God, you're a coward for including that last part.
Just Ditka had such a crazy year in 1961 that it's tough to believe he's going to outdo Ditka's 1961 season.
We're going bold though. You gotta stick to it.
I mean, all right. I'll just read Ditka's stats that year. So he had 231 overall points and 16.5 points per game on 56 catches, 1,076 receiving yards, and 12 touchdowns as a rookie tight end in 1961. It's going to be tough for Pitts to get there. He would have finished as the tight end 2 last year tied with Waller. So I think he's going to outdo Shockey. 2002 Shockey, he had 175.4 fantasy points, 11.7 points per game, 74 catches, 894 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kind of the gold standard for modern day rookie tight ends. 2017 Ingram was very close, 11.6 points per game, 64 catches, 722 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So the most modern yards was Shockey, 894. But I think we're looking at Pitts, if he can basically be a receiver like Brent just talked about. There's been 24 rookie receivers who have hit that 1,000-yard mark. So it doesn't seem as crazy to get Pitts to that level. If he can slide right in, be the number 2 option at the Falcons, I think he's going to have some points. So let's say it. He's going to outdo Ditka's 1961.
Whoa.
there we go.
16.5 fantasy points per game.
That
Good.
is spicy. We had to push you into it, but you did it. You took the plunge.
Good.
What do you guys think?
I was gonna say I expected him to beat out Shockey. I do. I know I talked bad about Pitts earlier this offseason, but I've come around and I expect him to have that good of a year. But I don't know about having a Ditka type season. But I like the pick though.
That's what makes it bold to me because, like we talked about earlier, Trevor, we were kind of giving you a hard time. Basically, if he finishes just above what you mentioned as far as Shockey averaging 11.7 points, that's more or less where he's being drafted and what he has to return just to be a good return on the value this year. And I think that's probably in line with people's expectations. But if you're going bold, that Ditka one would be super bold, baby. So I like it.
And I will say some of the people in fantasy that I most respect, and like that covers fantasy football, they expect huge things out of Kyle Pitts. And I got
about Trevin.
Yeah, I'm sitting right here.
Well,
you can say my name.
I guess I can throw Trevin in that group too. But they think he's going to do great, and I got to take a step back and kind of respect that. So good, nice pick.
All right, let's see what Mr. Predicto thinks.
No.
Oh, what do you know anyway, Mr.
A
Predicto?
one-word answer. No.
Way to put some thought into it.
He sounds pretty confident. All right, let's move on to my second one, which is Amari Cooper finishes as a top 5 wide receiver on a points per game basis. The best he's had on a points per game basis so far in his career is 14th in 2019. He's currently going as wide receiver 15 in ESPN's redraft ADP. I think he has a good chance to exceed that and finish as a top 5 wide receiver. He was leading the league. Obviously, it's a small sample, but leading the league in points per game last year when Dak Prescott was healthy, on track for that wide receiver 1 year. Then, of course, everything fell apart. So I don't know that he'll finish as wide receiver 1, but if we're going to get a little bold here, I think he'll have a career year. He's going into his age 27 season, and he will finish in the top 5 is my bold prediction for Amari this year.
That is bold. I like the boldness of the pick, Levi. I don't see it happening. There's just too many good receivers ahead of him. But he's definitely capable. And with Dallas wanting to run the ball more, and with CeeDee Lamb growing after a year in the NFL, it'll be tough. But I like the pick though. It's bold predictions.
I like it, Levi. I'd say if there's one guy I'd pick for the Cowboys offense to do it, I would go with Cooper. I think he's just got some experience over CeeDee Lamb. He's definitely talented. So I like Cooper more than Lamb, and I think if you can pick the guy that's going to do it, I'd say you did it.
Yeah, this year's Stephon Diggs, baby. Come on, Mr. Predicto. Don't let me down.
Highly doubtful.
Oh, man. He hates your picks.
Yeah, he does. What the hell? Brett, you are on Mr. Predicto's good side so far. 2 for 2. He's on board with you. Hit us with your third one. Let's see if he likes it too.
Yeah, we talked about Odell Beckham a little bit ago. Speaking of him, I do think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 again. We'll see the 2016 Odell Beckham. He's in a the biggest thing with him, he's got to play the whole year, and I do think he's healthy now, and they're going to really look to get him the ball. They have a great running game. I'm not a big fan of Baker Mayfield, but they're going to really try to get him involved in the offense. He's by far their best receiver, even better than Landry. And he's just the biggest thing with him. He's just got to stay healthy, and when he is healthy, he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I think we see the old Odell Beckham at least for this year. So I'm hoping for a fun year. He's always a lot of fun to watch.
We've talked about Odell before. I'm kind of done with Odell unless he shows me something, but he certainly has proven before that he's more than capable of finishing as a wide receiver 1. Still only 28, Brent. So there's a chance here. I like it as a bold prediction, but it's probably not one I'm going to benefit much from in fantasy if it happens, because I'm just not going to have much Odell. Trevin, What about you?
I like it, Brent. I got Odell on the cheap on some leagues this year. Looking forward to it. I'm on the same wavelength as you. I wish I could have as hot a take as you do here, but I do see him improving, and I hope he has a big year.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Predicto, what say you?
Yes, it is certain.
Wow. He loves your picks, Brent.
Got all 3 of them from Mr. Predicto.
What's funny, earlier when we made that tweet a couple weeks ago saying that Mr. Predicto said I was a pretty crappy fantasy football player, but he's agreeing with all my takes. So something's wrong with Mr. Predicto.
I think everybody can pretty well.
Everybody can change their mind, Brett. Even Mr. Predicto.
I think he just thinks you're a terrible manager is what it comes down to, Brent, because he likes the same players as you, but apparently not how you manage your teams.
Probably.
All right, Trevin, hit us with your third.
All right, my third is that Alvin Kamara will finish as a top 3 running back this year, and have more than 100 catches, which would contribute to finishing top 3. So
Who will?
Who did I say? Austin Eckler is who I meant to say.
You said
I say Alvin Kamara. That's because I was getting to my next point. I got it crossed up. Austin Eckler. And the reason is that Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, came over from the Saints. He's now on the Chargers staff, has said that he wants to use Eckler like Kamara. And, of course, Kamara's had some huge years with Lombardi being there. So, actually, in 2019, Eckler finished as the number 4 overall running back. He had 92 catches that year. In 2020, kind of a down year for him because he gets injured. But in the 9 games he played, he finished with 18.2 points per game and was the number 4 running back again on average just last year. So, I think they're going to keep that going. I think his touches are going to be even better with Lombardi being there this year, and he just doesn't have anything for competition behind him, I don't think. So there's nobody's going to be stealing his touches or stealing goal lines from him. So Austin Eckler, top 3 running back.
In PPR, correct?
In PPR, yes.
Yep. All right. I like that one, Trevin. He's certainly produced at that type of level when he's been on the field. So if he can stay healthy for the whole year, and last year, like you mentioned, he maintained it even with Justin Herbert at quarterback. So I see no reason to doubt his ability to do that this year if he can stay on the field.
I like it too. I can definitely see him getting over 100 catches, running the ball, the rushing attempts. He will have to compete. I don't know who the backup's going to be at San Diego or Los Angeles, but I don't know. He definitely could be a top 3 running back. So it's bold. Top 3 is tough. I think he can do it though.
Give it to me, Mr. Predicto.
Let's go to Mr. Predicto for the final word.
Ask later when the time is right.
Oh, come on, Mr. Predicto.
What, are you busy right now?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, now we're talking.
For years.
Yeah.
Last time just a flat no, this time a flat yes.
He's my second favorite co-host.
So I think you ended up with a yes for your first one about Jameis, a no with your second one about Pitts, and a yes for your third one. Does that sound right, Trevin?
Yep.
All right, let's see if he likes mine since he hated the first 2. My third bold prediction, I'm going to the college side, guys, and this one isn't really fantasy specific, but it's still for the 2021 football season, and that is someone other than Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma makes the college football playoff and wins a game. So those schools I mentioned are the top 5 favorites to win the championship this year. Alabama is a plus 260 according to the website I found. Clemson was plus 450. Georgia was plus 600. Ohio State plus 600. And Oklahoma plus 800. Those schools have 21 of the 28 appearances so far in the college football playoff, and they have 12 of the 14 championship game appearances. So pretty tough to beat that, but I'm picking. I think it's been a while since we've had something crazy happen in college football, so it's about time. We've got new quarterbacks getting broken in at Alabama and Ohio State. We have Georgia without George Pickens. Oklahoma seems to think this is their year, so they may be this up there. And then Clemson obviously has a new quarterback too, in DJ Uiagalelei. I guess he played a couple of games last year, but for the most part, a new quarterback. So I think, there's a chance for this to happen. And for my 3 favorite schools I picked out that I think have a path to the playoff and then potentially the ability to pull an upset if they make it. Probably the one I would be most confident in picking is North Carolina. They have obviously Sam Howell at quarterback, favorite to go the top of next year's draft. They do not draw Clemson in the regular season, so they have a pretty good path to the ACC championship and potentially being undefeated going into that game. They do have to play at Notre Dame, but that's probably their toughest game of the season. And if they can get through that, they play most likely Clemson in the ACC championship. A win against Clemson would, I think, pretty firmly probably put them into the playoff unless they do happen to drop a couple of those games. And even if they lose to Clemson, if they win all their other games, I think they have an outside chance at that number 4 spot potentially. So I think they're in a good position to make the playoff, and then I think they have the talent with what Mac Brown has been able to recruit there to potentially pull off an upset if they get in. The other 2 I kind of picked out were Cincinnati, who I think, group of 5 has never made the playoffs, but I think they have an outside chance this year. They play at Indiana and at Notre Dame back-to-back early in the season on September 18th and October 2nd. Those are by far their 2 most difficult games. If they can find a way to win both of those, I think they go undefeated and have a compelling case to get in if things break right for them in the Power 5 conferences. And then they have Desmond Ridder, of course, at quarterback, and some decent talent around him. So I think they have an outside chance if they do get in to pull an upset. And then the last one I came up with was Iowa State. Iowa State is preseason number 7 and 8 in the polls. Playing the Big 12, obviously. The thing for them is they play Oklahoma due to the Big 12's round robin scheduling. At the very end of the year, they go to number 2 Oklahoma, the second to last game of the season. So they'll need to either beat Oklahoma there or in the Big 12 championship. I'm assuming it'll probably be a rematch with Oklahoma if both of these teams are as good as we think they're going to be. So they'll have to win at least one of those and sneak into the playoff and win the rest of their games as well. And then I think with Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, and some of the other talent on that team again, and Matt Campbell really as coach, putting quite a bit of weight on, they would have a chance to pull off an upset. They did pretty well last season. They finished in the top 10 after having that rough loss to Louisiana to start the year, and they beat Oregon in their bowl game to finish in the top 10. And they only lost to Oklahoma by 6 last year in the Big 12 championship after beating them earlier in the regular season. So those are my 3 favorites for this to happen. But that's my bold prediction, fellas. What do you think? Will madness in college football this year?
Do you know how many teams have won a semifinal game that were not one of the 5 you listed?
Yeah, because I gave that stat at the beginning. It's 2.
Oh yeah, I missed that. Sorry. I saw you had appearances, but I didn't see that you had that. So yeah, Oregon in the very first year and LSU a couple years ago when they won it all. So that's pretty crazy. I like the schools you picked. It sucks for Cincinnati that a lot of it's going to depend on how good a seasons Indiana and Notre Dame have. That's the bad part for them. And I just don't see them getting in over any one-loss Power 5. So they're going to need everybody to have 2 losses. So I think it's just going to be sucky for them. The college football playoff just kind of sucks. It's all the gatekeepers are in the big conferences, so there's no incentive for them to let that little school in, even if they deserve the shot. I think the one school you did maybe not mention is A&M. I like the ones you did mention, but I think A&M deserves a mention too. They got a new starting quarterback, which you kind of highlighted, guys, with the experienced starting quarterbacks. They got Haynes going in there, which was a highly recruited quarterback, but he is new to it. They were just on the outside looking in last year, but A&M has a chance too.
Yeah, they do. And what you just hit on with the new quarterback was probably my biggest hesitation. My other one was they're playing in the SEC West. So for them to come out of that, it's going to be rough. They have to go get by Bama and LSU. But yeah, they're getting a lot of hype. I don't know, with the new quarterback and in that division, I think it's a challenging path to the playoff. But if they make it, they have a good chance.
Levi, I love the boldness of this. Alabama has a new starting quarterback. Ohio State has a new starting quarterback. Clemson has a new starting quarterback. So, I mean, I understand why you're looking at it that way. And if there was a team outside, I'm kind of with Trevin here. I kind of like Texas A&M. If Haynes King doesn't mess things up, everybody else on Texas A&M, I can see them maybe upsetting somebody in the first round. I don't see them going undefeated, going that far. But dang, I think we'll see Oklahoma and Alabama in there, and maybe Clemson. Clemson's defense is really good. But I don't see Cincinnati or North Carolina doing it though. Iowa State would be a lot of fun. They just got to beat Oklahoma, and that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would. The last 2 things I'll say about Texas A&M. One is they do get Alabama at home, so that helps. They do have to go on the road to LSU at the end of the season. So if LSU is better again this year, that would be a tough game to end the year. And the other thing I'll throw out there that makes me a little nervous about them, in addition to a new starting quarterback, they also have questionable options at receiver. Their top 2 receivers last year were Aeneas Smith, who is kind of a running back receiver hybrid, who had 564 yards, and Jalen Weidermeyer, a tight end, who had 506 yards. So they have DeMoss there and some other options, but nobody who's really proven as like kind of a reliable go-to option that Haynes King can just kind of, throw it to when in doubt. So that's the other thing that gives me a little bit of hesitation with them, but a ton of talent on that team, certainly.
I think that reliable option will be Smith. He's the guy that he's got to look for.
Yeah. He's kind of a Wandale Robinson type player.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what Mr. Predicto says.
Definitely yes.
Ooh,
Cool.
He's on board with chaos this year.
Good
All
pick.
right, well, now-
I also got to mention Isaiah Spiller, who I picked up on the CDC, so I'm excited to see him. So Isaiah Spiller, you're mentioned now.
yes, he is my favorite skill position player on that team, no doubt. Trevin, you had one other question for our main event that you wanted to throw out this week.
So I've got a lot of my redrafts. I'm on 2 redraft leagues. They're both the drafts are happening this weekend. Like to get as close to the season as I can. The one thing I've been thinking about a lot with these vaccination rules that are coming out with the NFL, are you guys putting any consideration into your redraft strategies as far as vaccination statuses for the players? I don't want to make this definitely isn't the place you should be listening to vaccination insights or etymology or whatever. So just as far as who you're redrafting, are you moving guys up or down based on vaccination status at all? Are you putting any thought into that?
I personally am not really, just because, for one, some players have obviously come out and said they have or have not gotten it, but there's a lot of them that I just don't know what their status is, and probably rightfully so. But the other thing is just trying to predict who's going to get the virus and who's not. Obviously, if you don't have the vaccine, you're more risky, but it just seems like a lot of work that may or may not have a benefit, and I don't have a lot of faith in my ability to predict that and kind of incorporate it into my projections this year. So that's I just lean towards, I'm not going to draft Cole Beasley, but that's for other reasons. So,
So I probably should. They did just come out with the protocols a couple days ago. I should probably read a quick on what they said. So NFL Players Association agreed to COVID-19 protocols for the 2021 season. Weekly testing for fully vaccinated players and staff members. Unvaccinated players will continue to test every day, including off days, and they have to stay outside the club facility before they go inside. One rule that has not changed: any high-risk close contact protocol. Fully vaccinated players will not be designated as high-risk close contacts if somebody else tests positive that they're in close contact with, but they do have to do daily testing for 5 days instead of the weekly. But if you're unvaccinated, any high-risk close contacts, you are out. I don't have it on there. I believe it's 10 days. So you might be missing 2 weeks just with a close contact if you are unvaccinated.
yeah, it's a huge penalty, and I think it will be something we all have to deal with at some point this season. The other thing for me is I'm only in one redraft league, so I don't put a lot of thought into it because of that as well. But Dynasty, I'm sure we'll all have to deal with it at some point if we aren't already. Brent, sorry, you were going.
Well, maybe you can use it as like a tiebreaker if you're looking for your second quarterback and you have like a guy like Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins tied. We know for sure that Kirk Cousins is not vaccinated as of right now. I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know for sure.
I'd say that's safe to say.
Matt Ryan might be a good option if they're tied. If maybe use it as a tiebreaker. I don't think I'd move people up or down that far in this type of situation, but yeah, I guess if there's a list out there, it might help some people during like their redrafts, but
That's kind of the weirdest part about it is that there isn't a list. I wish there kind of was, as far as just treat it like any other injury. But I am going to put some thought into it. Like Lamar Jackson, I'd probably have him as a 2 or 3 redraft quarterback this year. But man, if he's just in close contact in the same room with somebody that tests positive, you might miss 2 weeks with him, and that's might be death for you making the playoffs in your redraft league. So I'm kind of thinking I'm dropping him down. And again, this is all, we don't know for sure if Lamar Jackson's vaccinated or not, just from the latest news we knew. That I'm not going to take him that high. You need somebody that high to be playing for you every week, and let alone close contact, and then in testing every day gives you more chances of getting it, and not being vaccinated more of a chance of getting it. So you're just looking at maybe missing 2 weeks at any point during the season. So that's just kind of I'm like you, Brent. I'm not saying I'm not going to draft them, but I'm definitely, the guys we know, I'm dropping them down and where I'm thinking I'm going to be taking them.
Have
my
you
long-winded
asked
spiel, I
Lamar? Has anybody asked Lamar if he's taking ivermectin?
guess. Check the
How
tractor
does that
supply. Check
how
the
does that
tractor
factor
supply
into
in
your
Baltimore.
analysis, Trevin? Do you consider that?
I might need to get some boots on the ground and check the tractor supply in Baltimore and see if they're got big supplies or not.
So you knock them down 2 rounds if they're not vaccinated, but bump them back up around if they're taking that?
If they're taking the horse dewormer, yes.
Flawless. You won't get that anywhere else, folks. Nobody else is telling you bump them up around if they get the horse dewormer. Speaking of, there may be some luck involved in fantasy this year with COVID, and obviously injuries are always a factor. So, fellas, that was the question of the week. How much of fantasy football is luck? And to give my own personal example here, and Brent, you're familiar with this league. We've had this league since 2018, so we finished 3 years going into year 4. It's a Devy league. And I mean, we all have our fair share of injuries, but this league, I feel like my team's just cursed. So here are the 9 most noteworthy things that have happened to my team in this league that just feel terribly unlucky. So it's a Devy league. So I had Bryce Love when he tore his ACL, then Kareem Hunt when he had his domestic violence incident, Tua Tagovailoa when he broke his hip, Jalen Waddle dislocated his ankle, was on my Devy squad, Deshaun Watson with all his issues this offseason was on my team. Last year I had Christian McCaffrey, who only played 3 games, and Joe Mixon, who only played 6. So top 2 running backs there out for most of the year. Cam Akers. I traded Christian McCaffrey for Cam Akers and a package that included Cam Akers this offseason. Then he tore his Achilles. I also got J.K. Dobbins in that trade, and he tore his ACL. So that worked out great. And then I also have George Pickens on my Devy squad, who tore his ACL this season. So 9 just major injuries to guys either on my NFL roster or on my Devy squad in 3 years. Just feels like snake bitten. But so I guess that gets to my point, fellas. Like, I feel like a significant portion of fantasy football is luck. Even if you draft the perfect roster or have the perfect roster set up in Dynasty, injuries, weird things like this Deshaun Watson story or Kareem Hunt's terrible decisions, and
Or your
just
players
stuff happens.
Or your players aren't consuming enough horse dewormer.
And so I feel like not only do you have to be really good at assembling a great team, you also have to have quite a bit of luck for them to actually perform the way you expect them to and avoid injury for the year. So if you had to put a percentage on it, Brent, how much of fantasy football would you say is luck based?
I'd say 75%. I think you're crazy if you don't think that luck is needed in fantasy football. The thing that you have to try to do is have enough depth on your team to kind of counter that. But I mean, you hear this all the time. I mean, you listed off a crap load of stuff that happened in the last 4 years, and it's not great.
3 years. Yeah.
That's 3 years. It's not great. I get it, but you don't know how many times I've heard that. I hear it all the time. Doesn't matter who it's, and not from you. It's from anybody who plays fantasy football. You just hear that type of stuff all the time. And I mean, it's happened to me a lot. So, I mean, it's just, you got to have a little bit of good luck if you want to win. I mean, I played in 4 championships in that program league in a row. Odell Beckham, he was probably my best player during that whole time. He got me there, but he only played 3 of those championships. So that's pretty unlucky right there. I mean, you just got to have depth to kind of help you out with that. So
He played 3 out of 4, Brent, or he?
Did I say he missed 3? He missed 3.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But I don't know. You got to have luck. I mean, bad luck's going to happen to your team. If bad luck doesn't happen, great. That means
You probably have a good chance of winning the whole thing.
Yeah, if you have bad luck, you just got to hope you have the depth to kind of survive and make the playoffs and then get some good luck in the playoffs. So that's the way I look at it. My first step is just making the playoffs and then get some good luck in the playoffs and see what can happen.
Brent says 75%, Trevin. What number are you putting on it?
I'd say it's probably closer to 50, but it's a lot of it, especially those top end guys. One of those guys has an injury that happens to, out of the 10 top guys, 2 or 3 of them is going to get hurt every year, and there's just nothing you can do. It doesn't, especially in redraft. There's no way you have the depth to take it to do anything about it. You're just done for the year. Dynasty, and you get a little bit more leeway if you can build a strong enough team to take a hit like that, but it's still, you just have a very slim chance of winning if one of those top end guys get hurt. So it's a lot of luck. You try to take the long look at it and see how you do overall and how your strategy is overall, just to give yourself the best chance every year. But on a year by year basis, there's a lot of luck involved.
And sometimes you have to take advantage of other people's bad luck. So you could Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards could be a guy that you drafted last month, and you're hoping for some bad luck for the J.K. Dobbins owner, and now you're sitting pretty good with Gus Edwards. So it's crazy. I mean, I definitely feel that you need a lot of good luck if you want to win a championship in fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. I probably lean a little closer to Trevin and Zach Heidenreich, who commented here. Thanks for tuning in, Zach. He says 50-50 as well. That's probably closer to where I'm at, but yeah, it's definitely a significant portion of it. And it's funny because we put so much time and thought into all of this analysis. We did this show a whole year, and then half of it's just dumb luck anyway. So, yeah, to your point, Trevin, like, if one of those top guys goes down, you almost have to be the one who got lucky and picked up James Robinson or has, a couple of players who surprise and put up strong years that you didn't expect to be able to rebound, but it sure makes it tough. So, yeah, 50% luck. And, I mean, some leagues, you can do all of the right things, even in Dynasty, and still end up with just high picks year after year because things don't work out. And I'm sure there are some people out there who have had even worse luck than I did. So if you have one of those, send it in to us on Twitter at Fantasy Players C, and we'd love to see it.
I saw a roster with Travis Etienne, Cam Akers, and J.K. Dobbins.
That's rough.
That's tough.
And you'd feel pretty good about it a month ago.
Yeah. The only good thing about being in a situation like that is, and with Akers, it's a little different, obviously, because that's a career-threatening injury, but with the other two, if you can get them back next year and add you're probably going to have a high draft pick and get another stud player with that, you have a chance to rebound really quickly and be a contender. So that is one silver lining when you have a lot of injuries, is, at least in Dynasty, is if you didn't trade that first round pick, you have the chance to have a really quick turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? As still a newer member of the Dynasty fantasy, it just sucks thinking about like rebuilding. Sure, you got your guys hurt, so you can get a higher pick next year, but you still got to pay the goddamn entry fee for this year. So, yeah. Man, that hurts.
Yeah, I think, Brent, you've made this comment before, I think, but it's probably, if you're doing it right, you really don't have a lot of years where you're truly rebuilding in most Dynasty leagues. If you trade your guys at the right time and make good deals and draft well, you can be pretty competitive most years.
Even taking the 1 year off with these injuries, though, you're still just eating the entry fee and hoping you get a good pick next year and all your guys come back healthy.
That's why when you have a chance to win it all, you got to go for it, because you just never know.
For a lot of entry fees. Yeah.
All right. Brent, you have one last thought here?
Nope. I'm just saying I agree.
All right. Let's do a quick beer check before we go. I have Deschutes Fresh Haze IPA. So this is a beer from, where is Deschutes? Any ideas?
Oh, I should know it.
Bend, Oregon is where the brewery's located. So first time I've had this one. Pretty solid. Pretty good summer beer. I'll go 7.7.
Levi, I missed which Deschutes was it?
Fresh Haze IPA.
Very nice.
Yep. What do you got?
So I got another Yuengling. This one's just the red can premium beer. It's good. It's a normal beer. Kind of their run of the mill. Let's do a 7.2 on it.
Nice. Brent, take us home.
So I had this beer this weekend. Very good beer. It's brewed and canned in La Vista, Nebraska. You guys can maybe help me out with the pronunciation. Cross strain. You guys ever hear of it?
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay.
That's the
Um,
one that does the nectar, something nectar.
Yeah.
They got another one that everybody at work loves.
Fairy Nectar, Hazy India Pale
Oh, that's the
Ale.
one you have. Yep.
Yeah, it's very good. I like it quite a bit. It's not going to be my last time drinking it, so definitely like a 8.8.
Nice. That's a high one.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
Yeah, our office is pretty close to La Vista. I don't know if that's why, but whenever we go somewhere at work, everybody gets the fairy nectar.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we got one more episode before football is back, fellas. Next week we'll probably be talking a little bit about week 1 preview. We learned this week we got the Mac Jones versus Tua Tagovailoa showdown the first week, so a lot of
And
fun
on
stuff to talk about.
The C2C side, we've got like 15 games tomorrow night. Something crazy on the college
That'll
side.
be fun.
So, yeah, excited
baby.
to watch all my players there.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait. A whole nother fantasy season you never had before to get all excited about, Trevor.
Yeah, I'd get really upset about, most likely.
Cannot wait. But until next week, thanks for being part of the Fantasy Players Club, everybody. We'll have a new episode for you then. We'll live stream it on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Till then, on behalf of Brent Hud Hikus and Trevin the Baby Maker Cremosta, this is Levi the Heartbreak Kid Valentine wishing you a great week.
See ya.
That's it.
All right, fellas. We do have meaningful college football starting this week for C2C purposes, but unfortunately there was a week 0 that was not just exhibition games, and our beloved Nebraska Cornhuskers participated unsuccessfully against Illinois. Brent, I'll let you have the first shot at it here because you are by far the most optimistic of us going into this
Me
season.
first?
So I'm going to let, before we muddy the waters with our depressing thoughts, let's get your reaction to that.
Man, it sucked. It did.
Oofta, the
That
only
was
thing that can be
Zach.
said. Zach says.
I agree with Zach. We saw the same old stuff that we've been seeing for the last couple years.
Same movie, as Scott would say.
Yeah, it's the same movie. I don't know. It's not like I have hope for this, but the only thing that I can wish for is they get it turned around and upset like a Wisconsin or Iowa and get to like 7 wins somehow, but it doesn't look good. I mean, I agree with you guys. It doesn't look good. I mean, when you guys say that they might only win like 3 or 4 games, like I know you're gonna say, I get it. It's likely, and I'm starting to understand that Scott Frost might be fired at the end of the year. I don't think they should fire him in the middle of the year. I know you guys might think that, but I don't think that should happen. Let him finish out the whole year, see what he can do, and maybe he can get it turned around. It really bothered me, so I don't like talking about this that much. So, I don't know.
Brent, I'll ask you one more question, then I won't make you talk about it anymore. What is your expectation? So I know you said hopefully they can upset some teams and get to 7 wins. What's your actual expectation for how many they finish with?
I mean, we've seen them kind of turn it around in the previous years when they looked bad and come
Frost.
On, well, it might turn around in a game or 2, but I don't know. And they still stumble. I don't know.
You want to go through them game by game to get your total?
No. I'll just say 6.
Wow,
6 and 6.
That's more than I thought you were gonna say.
But I mean that's not what I want. I mean, we need to get to 8 to 9. I mean, they're gonna pull us back in. They're gonna play. They're gonna beat Fordham. They're gonna beat Buffalo, and maybe for the first half they're gonna play close against Oklahoma. I mean, we've seen it all before. And maybe they'll end up getting blown away by Oklahoma, but they're going to pull us back in, and then we're going to lose to we're going to get beat by 50 against Minnesota or something. So,
All right. I won't make you talk about it anymore, Brent.
All right. Thank you.
Trevin, I'll let you go next.
This was a nightmare. I don't know. Illinois was such a bad team last year. They beat us, but they only had 2 wins. So everybody talks about how they had all these returners, which is, yeah, but they were bad. They only had 2 games that they scored more than 22 points, and one was against us last year. So there's just not a lot of talent on this team, and they got a first-year coach that it just looks like he steps in and knows what he's doing and has his guys prepared, and it's the same thing over and over for the past 4 years for us. I honestly thought this year we'd at least maybe have some prepared guys. Frost was still a new coach his first 3 years, and now had a full year of there's some COVID protocols, but not near as much as last year. Not that I have guys ready to play and prepared with a game plan. And for him to admit after the game that he just wasn't expecting Illinois to line up like that and had to throw out half of his playbook because of how they lined up, it looks so bad. It looks like he's unprepared and doesn't know how to make adjustments. And my God, I just don't know where you go from here. Illinois is a bad team, and they totally outcoached us and outplayed us, and we just continue to make the same dumb mistakes. I don't know. We're year 4. We still have a terrible quarterback. I don't know how we haven't got one from the transfer portal or recruited one in the time since Frost has been here to somebody to outdo him, but he can't make easy throws, and he makes terrible back-breaking decisions at the worst time like we saw. So I don't know where we go from here with Frost. I don't really care if he coaches it out or gets fired during the season, but I just think we've seen enough.
Why not try? We got to try Smothers or Harbor. I mean,
I think they must just be so bad.
They can't be that bad.
Because Smothers, it would have cost nothing to try Smothers last year when we had McCaffrey and Martinez being terrible, and Smothers wouldn't have lost a year of eligibility, and we still didn't try him. And he showed that he would have tried somebody else by playing McCaffrey, and Smothers still didn't get a shot. So I just think he's bad, and everybody's transferring now, but we haven't got a transfer. The one guy that did want to transfer here won damn Heisman and was number 1 pick in the draft. But so I think that says a lot about talent evaluation. It's bad. I'm really sad about it. I thought we'd at least have a prepared team this year that doesn't make terrible mistakes. And our goddamn team captain catches a punt going into the end zone and tries fumbling it forward and gets a safety. It's just, and then he gets the interception and gets that taken away. It's just, we make the worst, dumbest decisions at all times, anytime it's possible.
It took me about 5 seconds to realize who is the Heisman winner and that wanted to come here. And then I'm like, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
One of your favorite dynasty players, Brent.
I know.
What do you think,
was
Levi?
shocking, absolutely shocking to hear Frost say we had to throw out 50% of our game plan just based on the way they lined up. Even if that's true, what are you thinking admitting that in a press conference? Like, how are you thinking that's going to go over? I don't understand why you would say that.
I think that just shows more lack of understanding of what his role is and what his position is and how his words sound. It's just, he's just not the guy for the job, I guess.
Okay, well, first of all, don't look at the press conference or any press conferences.
But can we look at the games?
Yeah, you can look at the games.
What do we do at halftime?
I don't want to hear about. Maybe he's not a very good press conference speaker. So we've seen that.
But he's also
I don't want to hear about the
keeping
press
all the
conferences.
off the field stuff off. Not even talking about that. We're unprepared and we don't make adjustments. Even if he doesn't come out and admit that, it's true.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
His 4 years, we just haven't had a win where we thought we might not win it. Like, we don't show up to play anybody that we should win. We've only won very few games since he's been here. And there's just no chance. The one big win we had was Michigan State his first year. And I was like, yeah, I remember that big win. Michigan State was 6-6 that year. And that's our best win he's had. Sorry, Levi. You got anything else? So it was your turn to talk, and I went on a rant.
That's all right. I think the other thing that makes it really hard to expect things to get better is the fact that this was a backup quarterback that played most of the game.
That's the other thing.
the starting quarterback went out. I don't. Was it early first quarter, mid first quarter?
Their second drive, I think. Their second or third drive is all.
And their backup comes in, and it's a transfer from Rutgers who got beat out by the player who transferred from Nebraska, who was from Nebraska to Rutgers for the backup job there. And that, for that player to end up in Illinois and then come in the game, go 12 for 15 for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns and win the game is just brutal. He was terrible at Rutgers. His career stats are awful. And I forget, what's the name of that quarterback that transferred there?
I can't think of it right now.
Vedral, Noah Vedral.
Yeah.
And so that was just brutal. It's like if we had a game where our Martinez went out in the first quarter and we had to bring in the backup, I can't imagine it ending the way it did for them, where we just rally around that guy and he performs well and we call plays that are, tailored to his strengths and run the ball down the other team's throats like they did to start that 8-minute drive or whatever it was, start the second half and just find a way to win. Like,
I can't imagine our starter playing as well as their backup did.
12 for 15.
Yeah.
So that was just really
But the other teams always
injury.
have these halftime adjustments that just come out and nail us the second half, and I don't know. We don't coach football at halftime. I know that much.
And I guess that was the thing for me is like, Nebraska was up 9-0 or 9-2.
No,
excuse
Illinois.
me. 9-2.
Yeah.
Illinois scores the touchdown, tied 9-9. Nebraska punts or whatever, and Illinois gets the ball back, throws that interception, and Nebraska has the self-inflicted penalty. Even up 16-9, it's like things aren't that bad. Like, you have a chance to go into half tied. They try to make a play. Martinez fumbles, gets ran back for a touchdown, and then things just snowball. Once something bad happens, it seems like they just can't. They just lose all faith and kind of fold. And so you saw Illinois
those
reel
things
off.
happen all
You
the
saw
time.
Illinois reel off 28 points in a row.
and that penalty actually happened when it was 9-2 Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caleb Tanner had that penalty.
Yep.
I mean, it was questionable, and that definitely was a game changer. I mean, Nebraska had an interception on the play, and that could have started the route by Nebraska. But
And it's just still another one of those. It's a penalty they call like it was questionable, and our guys just make those mistakes all the time, and they're just backbreaking.
yeah, that was
Well, and then it's like it just seems like they have no faith in their ability to just persevere through that and make us okay. You didn't get the interception, you cost it, but make a stand, like come back from that, or any of the next 4 drives. Make somebody make a play to turn things around and get it back on track.
But you
They
highlight
ended up-
that one, and they did. It's just that those things happen all the time. Like the
Yeah,
punt return safety, that was right at the beginning, and we came back from that okay. And even after that interception, that got called back. Like, we didn't mess up immediately. It's just that we compound all those mistakes over and over. So there's not like one that happens and we give up. It's just that those happen so often. I know, like,
Sure.
nobody's probably listening to this still, but I kind of need this as therapy for myself.
we have 2 listeners, so they must be Nebraska faithful. 2 viewers. I don't know. I just, when I look at the schedule the rest of the way,
Oh God,
it's hard to pencil anything beyond Fordham in as a win. Like, even Buffalo, I'm like, I wouldn't be shocked if they lost that. Like, I think they're probably going to win, and then the rest of them, it's like any Big Ten or any Big Ten game. I'm like, there's no way.
Illinois was
Illinois was probably
they were
the
a
easiest
bottom-
Big Ten team.
Yeah, they were bottom Big Ten team last year, and they're probably going to be this year.
Yeah.
And they had a backup quarterback that couldn't cut it at Rutgers that tore us up. So
You see his stats at Rutgers.
yeah, he's like
Yeah.
5
Oh
touchdowns
my
and 20
gosh.
interceptions or something. He's terrible.
How is he a
So
starter for that long?
I don't know how. I don't know. We're not going to play many quarterbacks that are worse than him in the Big Ten this year, and he tore us up fine. Defense is supposed to be our strong suit, which I can see the defensive guys kind of giving up to when the offense is messing up as much as they do. It's hard to keep yourself that motivated, but man.
I will say the defense. I feel like the defense did do pretty good. They played good enough to win the game.
Brent,
Yeah,
they
you
let
just
that
can't give up.
quarterback go 12 for 15.
He didn't look that good. I mean, there is one good pass, one long pass. But
But he
that's
didn't
really
have to do that much because
Yeah,
they're
they're
just
running
running
up
the
and down.
ball. That's the problem. I
We just
well,
everything we do is just so sloppy.
Towards the end, yes,
We
when
missed-
the offense wasn't doing crap, but
We missed
it-
2 PATs. We had the stupid punt return that I've talked about that he tried throwing it forward after he cut it at the 1. Like we just special teams is sloppy. The defense misses people. Offense can't get anything going. We're not good at any facets of the game, and we're not buttoned up. We make stupid decisions. I don't know, guys.
I think it shows how important a quarterback is to a team. And
Sure, but how have we not gotten a better one in 4 years?
I know.
Well, and that's what we were talking about when you stepped away, Brent, is like not only does Nebraska not have a good one, but then you see somebody like Sikowski come in off the bench and play most of the game and beat Nebraska. That's like if that happened to us, I feel like that would never ever work out that way.
I think event of Noah Vedra will be a nice manager for this team.
The one Frost didn't think was good enough, so he transferred away. That's from Nebraska and wanted to play for Nebraska. And
Yeah, I mean, Frost didn't want to give up on Martinez. I know that.
Or McCaffrey, apparently.
So I don't know.
God, he just he had to know this year is so important, and just to roll Martinez back out again after he's been so bad the last 2 years, and then to see how bad Martinez still is, it's just crazy.
I know.
16 for 32. 1 touchdown, no interceptions. 1 fumble.
Boy, the one thing though is they're definitely right to try to cancel that Oklahoma game. That is going to be ugly. Goodness
now
gracious.
They might score 100 now just to spite us for that.
Oh God, they're going to put a beat down on us.
Todd Van Winkle says there are millions of reasons Frost does not care. Payout is all he wants.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if I can agree with that, Todd. I think he probably wants to win, but
Look
I
at
don't
his
think-
profile picture.
I don't think he's able to.
It looks like he's a Jaysker.
He's
No,
a
that's
Ravenna Blue Jay fan.
Go Jays, right? Creighton Blue
Ravenna.
Jays? Oh,
Ravenna.
okay.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a Jaysker.
I don't doubt he cares. I just don't think he has any answers.
Yeah, that's what I think he'd rather win, but I just don't think he's good enough. So what do you think, Levi? What's your win prediction for the year?
3.
Trevin, did you give a prediction yet?
No, I want to say 2, but I
Oh
think we
my
probably
God.
find a way to win 1 Big Ten game, so I'll go 3.
Whoever they beat in the Big
So-
Ten should feel really bad about themselves.
Speaking of that, then, since you guys are thinking 2 and 3 wins, who's going to be the coach next year then?
I don't know. Not Scott Frost.
We can pay him a lot of money.
Yeah, they're
God,
gonna use that investigation to try to reduce that, I have a feeling. There was an interesting article on The Athletic about how that can really backfire, though. Like, Kansas ended up spending the same amount as they would have. They got a slightly reduced buyout, but their legal fees ended up being basically that plus legal fees were equivalent to what they would have got if they just paid him. And then Tennessee's going through it right now, but it's to be determined how that works out. And I think they talked in the article about how, the coaching community is pretty small. And if you try to go that route, you really run the risk of somebody looking at that and saying, I don't really want to go there because they're guaranteeing all this money, but they've got their fingers crossed behind their back where if anything goes wrong, they'll just be looking for a reason to try to reduce your buyout and not give you what you're owed. So I think that you run the risk of scaring away potentially better candidates if you try to wiggle out of paying the full buyout that is owed contractually. So it'll be interesting to see if they go that route, but they have an opportunity and I don't know what they're going to do.
I never ever thought we'd be talking about this 4 years ago about Scott Frost.
I didn't either. And I don't know if you read it, Brent or Trevin, but on The Athletic, Andy Staples had an article, or it was just on Twitter. I think he was talking about how it's just shocking that somebody who could go 13-0 in the AAC and beat Auburn in that bowl game. Can't even get to 500 in the Big Ten West, where
It's not like, it wasn't like he was just some hot coach that didn't really have success yet and he's coming home. Like, he was the coaching hire. There's only 5 to 10 programs that wouldn't have taken him when he chose Nebraska.
I don't think. I mean, at that time, I think he was probably the number one guy.
Yeah, I just mean that would. I think there was only 5 or 10 that wouldn't even just replace who they currently had.
Yeah.
If he wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Like, that's how hot a name he was and how good he looked as an offensive mind. And God, he just can't do anything. It's not even like he's just missing out on big games. He just looks totally incompetent every game.
It's shocking.
I didn't expect this. Did not expect it at all. And
I mean,
I thought if he was unsuccessful, we'd still give him like 6 years.
I didn't even think, I didn't consider this as an option as this being unsuccessful.
I didn't think that this was going to be this bad.
And I think he would get 6 years if he was winning 6 or 7 games a year. I think they'd say, "Oh yeah, we'll ride it out, and you've only been a head coach for 5-6 years. We'll let you work through this and take a leap at some point." But with 3 or 4 wins a year, it's hard to justify that.
Because then that's the point where you start losing donations from your boosters. You start losing some recruiting classes if you can't get wins, and start losing fan enthusiasm and the sellout streak. So you can't continue with 2 or 3 wins very long.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see what Matt Campbell can do next year at Nebraska.
Oh man. I don't know why he would do that, but you got to try, right?
Yeah, you got to see if he can give you a number at least and say, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Is he who else is on your short list, Brent? And who do you think's like a realistic target?
I just thought of Matt Campbell. I don't know.
There's a guy that just went back to LSU and name and going around. What's his Pete's? Yeah. He has some Nebraska ties.
You want to X? I think he played at Nebraska. He was
Is that what it was?
Yeah. He was the quarterbacks coach for Joe Brady. Joe Burrow, he coached him, and then he went to Carolina for a year, and then now he's coming back to LSU for the offensive coordinator position. But I don't know. But I don't know if you guys want to go another Nebraska option or connection like that.
I mean,
he's.
To me, it doesn't matter, but and maybe it can't hurt when you're trying to get somebody. But I wouldn't want to take somebody just because they have a Nebraska connection.
Yeah, exactly. It's not necessary for if I think they're going to be successful, but it might be the only thing that gets somebody to come try.
Yeah, that guy's an intriguing target. I don't know. Zach Taylor gets fired. He might be an option. But again, it's like I don't feel great about Zach Taylor. It's just he has a Nebraska connection.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It's rough times.
I didn't think we'd be talking about this. I mean, just losing to Illinois, if they didn't have like the stupid mistakes and Illinois looked good and they just beat them straight up, I'd still be confident Frost would have another year. Looking into it. Even if he does win 6 wins. It's disappointing.
This is a depressing conversation.
I'm glad I'm not Trev Alberts. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I do like him as an AD.
Yeah.
I do.
It's hard to really, I don't know. Like, I don't have much to go assess him on yet.
I like Moose as an AD a lot too because the hires he made.
That's true.
Hey, basketball is gonna have a good year this year.
I'll wait till they get above 500. Maybe I can't keep doing this. I'm so excited for this team that's never been above 500.
If they don't have a good year, I might be done.
I felt
Nebraska athletics in general.
Oh man, I felt as confident as like a couple of years ago. I felt as confident as I do now with basketball, like compared to football.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting my hopes up too much, but gosh, I can definitely see it. Nebraska.
How many
basketball.
Big Ten games have they won the last 2 years total? Like 4,
Not a lot.
5?
Probably.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cool that we're getting some recruits and some excitement, but man, they haven't won any games either.
They haven't, but a 5-star in college basketball just
Yeah.
it's hard to not think that goes okay.
Well,
We'll see.
wasn't Delano Banton a 5-star and he went to Western Kentucky?
I don't think so. I think he's pretty highly rated, but I don't
Okay.
think he's a 5-star.
Yeah. He is number 92 according to 24/7, a 4-star.
Okay.
I didn't realize he was that high, honestly. I just figured since he went to Western Kentucky and transferred to a bigger school, he was probably a less recruited. But yeah. All right. Should we leave it there for the week, fellas?
I suppose.
You got anything to pick up our mood at the end of this thing? At least we're going to beat Fordham by 50. That'll be fun.
Maybe we'll get to see Logan Smothers in that game.
I hope so. I hope we see some backups in that game. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, that'll be our chance to assess how good or bad he is, because that might be the only time we get to see him this year.
I saw the point spread. Some places are listing as 40 points. You taking the Huskers in that?
Jeez, I didn't realize they were that bad.
Yeah, they're 1AA or whatever you call it now, I think.
Yeah, but there's some decent schools, so I didn't.
Fordham isn't one
Nebraska
of them.
just lost to Illinois. Yeah, apparently. Man,
What do you got? What do you got? 40 points? Which way are you going?
I'd stay away from that.
So you got Fordham. What do you got, Levi?
ESPN doesn't even list a line.
No, that's some offshore thing.
I don't know. Like, I think Nebraska's going to win, but I'm not putting a number on it.
God, I hope they win.
I'm putting the number on it. You got to pick the side.
Todd says I'll take that 50. I'll go Fordham to cover.
Oh, loser.
I thought Nebraska was going to win last week, and I let him get my hopes up and disappoint me again, so I'm not going to make that mistake again this week. What's your prediction?
I was just trying to lighten the mood, get a little excitement at the end of it. This has been so depressing. So I was taking Nebraska, but you
I
guys
was
talked me
trying
out
to
of
with basketball, but then you had to bring us down.
Maybe we should talk volleyball. Volleyball team's looking good. They get some
Yeah,
good
they get
freshmen.
some big recruits.
Mhm.
Yeah. Boy. If basketball or football ever got to recruit their recruiting class like theirs, it would just be mind-blowing.
Yeah.
All we talk about.
We'd change this to a volleyball show.
All right. That's enough. Have a great week, everybody.
See ya.
See you guys. He's out again.
He did it again. Oh, that's funny.